Our third panelist, Susan Davis, that you met before with this wonderful movie, has worked in many areas of show business. On Broadway, she co-produced the critically acclaimed Conversation at Midnight by Edna St. Vincent Millay. An actor for over 30 years, she's most often remembered as Matthew Broderick's mother in War Games and the nymphomaniac nurse on Barney Miller. Her voiceover credits include the voice of Pippi in the movie The Pippi Longstocking Story, Sesame Street, and The Electric Company. She is one of the writers, director, and producers of The Invisible Woman. Susan.
I'm going to start with that comment because you've asked about the genesis of the 1918 to 49 demographic. And I asked Steve. Steve was vice president of the long form, 18 years, CBS. And I can't remember what he was at ABC, but very high up. He said that it came about really early, Ellen. It came about, television was very hot in the late 50s, 60s, read that Mad Men time, and 70, and he said that the projection for how long we would live was like 65 or so. Why are we even thinking about, well, we'll go for the younger ones? And that story, it dies hard. That's the one they kept. That's the story they tell themselves constantly. CBS, as you mentioned, usually is, for the older networks, the best. But I wanted to clear that up. That's where it came from, and they've kept it going and going and going. I wanted to just give you a little bit about the evolution of my passion about women and aging. And well, it was a bunch of actresses, and we were all noticing that we weren't working. This is the late 90s, and we got together and had a little group, actresses at work. And I was fascinated with the stories because there's a huge psychological thing that happens to you. You think it's your fault, and, you know, what's wrong? They're not choosing me anymore. So I interviewed them, and somehow or other, AARP heard about it. And they paid for us to come back. They edited 10 minutes of this. At that time, they were promising us the moon. We want to do it, and it went well. The money never came. But they did give us that first edit. It was 10 minutes of me interviewing. Then we got Oil of Olay. Loved it. This was the marketing dream. They were going to bring together those of us who were in our late 40s, 50s on up, and our daughters. And that did have some credence. They really based a lot of that stuff on us. They were going to give us the big bucks to do this. Didn't happen. God, I remember the night I was in New York. I worked in LA and New York, and I was coming home. And I kind of just said, okay, God, I'm giving this back. This is a great project. I can't spend any more time. And the guy sitting next to me, I said, you coming to California? Yeah, I got a new job, and I'm really excited. I said, oh, really? What is it? He said, I'm going to work for Screen Actors Guild. And I said, oh, really? What are you going to do there? He said, I'm going to be head of diversity. I said, really? I have a project you might be interested in. His name was Angel Rivera, and he was my angel. And he took it to the foundation. I mean, look at that. The money was in our own backyard. And in 3 weeks, we were funded. Not that it happened in 3 weeks, because that's part of the evolutionary thing I'm telling you. The resistance You know how when you have a great idea and you want to do something good for your peers, your whatever, you think everyone's going to fall in line? Forget that right now. Not most of the actresses. You couldn't get to them. They were the managers, the agents. No one wanted to talk about money. It was like, I knew how Christine Lottie felt. She had written about it. I literally had to stalk her. I got SAG. This is funny. I'm 5'1". She's with heels, about 6 feet. She was winning an award, and I got Screen Actors Guild to give me one of their tickets. And I literally went up to her right after the award, and I said, and I'm producing this thing in Visible. So I heard about you. I said, well, your manager won't even, and her manager's pulling her away. She said, here's my card. I want to do that. She not only wanted to do it, she did her own makeup. We didn't have that much money. We used her home. My story is wherever we went, there was so much resistance, not from the actors, but Hollywood, the managers, they didn't want it. So I thought, when I went to New York, after Invisible Women was done, our major screening, 350 people, we did it with Women in Film, I thought I could get all the top producers, female producers on cable. That's where most of the good work for women is being done. Not one of them in New York, where we think they're more grown up, not one would do it. Gail Sheehy was she had written a book and she was flat out there and did it. I want to give you that kind of backdrop. That's been around for a long, long, long time. I also thought I lived in the fantasy that it was only in America were we that stupid. I was interviewed 4 months ago by a professor from England, Deborah Dean. Same demographic fall off in 11 countries in Europe. This is really what I'm telling you. I think what we're talking about is so deep. I think it's biblical. I think it goes back. I think Ellen is the first one that hit it. I always was saying it. Don't say that. Are we as a society, are we afraid to think you can be sexy at 60 and 70 and 80? Yes, we are. And I really think, you can tell me what any producer says, what any marketer says, I think we're terrified of that. I think it goes back to the yuck feeling when you think about your parents. Oh my God. I honestly do. I think it has to do with how, well, I know the boomers. And of course, Ken Dykewald, not only did I think he was brilliant in our film, he became a friend. And he's been studying, as he said, the land of wrinkles since he was 25. He agrees with me. He said, he'd rather have me say it. That's what I really feel the basis is. We're afraid of growing older. What do we think of? Walkers, pills, that's how they market to us. And of course, it's ridiculous. And when you read the numbers of the people that are actually in the social network, I am more than I want to be. I kind of resent it. It takes me away from my gardening. But I want to say something about branding, and that's about growing older, and this is what Ellen's talking about. We got to take responsibility here. How we feel about ourselves, look what we project out. That's really important. You saw the part where I brought up, we bring up, what do you do about it? Okay, we all know these numbers. What's the solution? Well, years ago, and nobody can tell me it didn't work, we were young men, but as feminists, Gloria Steinem taught us how to do this. we literally took on a product. I was head at, I feel badly about this, Folger's Coffee. Remember Miss Olson? Is anyone old enough? Well, we got tired of being the ones making the coffee, so our aim was that women don't have to make coffee, and gosh, she got by, you know, they got a guy in it. I've been feeling badly about that. Because we were young, but our object was our image. I think what I'm saying here is we're trying to shift this image, but if we really care about it, we've got to write into the shows that these people that we love are on. We've got to take on a product. If you don't want to do that or see, the movies are the worst. Advertising is going to go along with you. That's where the money is. Television, less. Cable, yes. Network, still, not really. You look at the numbers. Stars are working. I've never had any other job but acting. Put kids through school, college, because I did across the board all of these things. I don't exist anymore at Screen Actors Guild. It's practically not existent. You have to be doing commercials, movies, television, voiceover to support yourself. Were you to do what 4 years ago we did at SAG? We backed a film that Susan Seidelman did, Brighton Beach Club. Do you remember it was done here?
Boynton Beach.
Boynton Beach, excuse me. She was on our panel in New York. I said, how can I help you? And she said, we need people to back us. And we did, all over. We used the SAG outlet. We called people, we got people to be there that first weekend, second, third, fourth weekend, and she got a much better deal. That's what I'm talking about. Backing films, writing about a project, doing what Deborah Pratt said. Ellen's spot on. We have to take responsibility for watching, for supporting. We need your help with ideas of what you think about how visible women, because it is getting better, not much on network TV. I'd love to see it more in marketing. It's better in cable, much better in news. We did have one winner, the Hurt Locker, one female. All of this, but we need you. And that is the different thing about the boomer women. They're not going to go quietly. And my last thing is, we can't all be Betty White. You know what I mean? So find the thing that you're most excited with in your life and project that. Because I don't know about you, but I'm tired of being too young, too old, too thin, too fat, too whatever. I'm me. You better take me.
That's right. Thank you.